Okay, today we are going to discuss about Azure monitoring. This is the last topic that we are going to discuss. So before we discuss about Azure monitoring, we will discuss about how the monitoring setups are done in all Azure projects. Okay, so uh, just assume that this is our cloud, and in the cloud we have various resources like VMs, database, and so many resources. Okay, so generally the monitoring is main important role in all the projects to keep the business running into more active and more effective. So in all the environment in the sense in all the projects, there is a dedicated team for monitoring. So the monitoring team generally, they will monitor all the activities in the project, and they will take action accordingly. So the monitoring team mainly taking a responsibility of any outages or any issues, any ticket generates or any disaster happen in the project. So they will be taking care of all the parameters in the project level. So coming to the cloud, the same activities also there in the cloud. So generally in the cloud, they have some dedicated tool for monitoring. Okay, so in Azure they have a monitoring tools, that is metrics and insights and log analytical workspace log analytic workspace. So using these kind of tools, these all Azure tools. So using these tools, the cloud resources can be monitored and the logs also captured using log analytics workspaces. Okay, the same way in the traditional projects also, they used to have some softwares, monitoring softwares, that would be like a Splunk monitor or Tivoli monitor. So these are some third party monitoring tools. Okay, so these tools will be directly installed or directly integrated with their respective environment. If it is public cloud, then the tool integrated with the respective public cloud, or if it is in the private cloud, they will be integrating with the private cloud. Okay, so generally what these Splunk tools, I mean monitoring tools, will do, it will just capture the logs and it will keep monitoring the resources in the cloud. So in generally in Azure, the default native tools are their metrics and insights, which we can just monitor the activities or reports or logs inside this cloud. But using the third party tool, we can fetch the report, we can pull out the report from respective cloud, and then we can pass this informations to some ticketing systems. Okay, so in the market there are some ticketing tools like Jira, ServiceNow, etc. So ServiceNow is the most preferable tool, and most of the companies using ServiceNow ticketing tool. Okay, so the logs whatever captured by the monitoring tool, it will trigger the incident. For example, suppose the VMs are running and if something goes down in the VM, so the Splunk will monitor and capture of VM logs, and it will immediately trigger the incident to service now. Okay, as as we are the administrator, so we will be monitoring the ticket as well using service now, and we will get the emails alerts automatically. That email configure also configured with service now email notification. Okay, so the users means we are the, I mean, users means admins, Azure admin. So we will, once we get the ticket, we have to take the actions in the respective cloud. Okay, so this is the traditional structure how the monitoring has been set up in all the cloud related projects. Okay, so this is just overall informations about how the monitoring setup has done in cloud projects. So now we are going to discuss about Azure Metrics and Azure Insights. So as I said, Azure Metrics and Insights is a monitoring tool which is Azure is offering a default monitoring tool. Okay, so you can just search metrics in the global search. You will get the metrics, the informations. So here in the metrics, global search metrics, we can choose our resources what we are going to monitor. So for example, here I'm choosing the virtual machine 1 which I'm going to monitor. So just select that VM1 in the metrics, and I can, here there are some metrics, predefined metrics are available as per Microsoft Azure. So these all are metrics parameters based on our requirement. We can fetch it and we can find the logs. So here I just need to see CPU usages. So I'll just see percentage of CPU. This is what I'm going to see for this particular VM, how the CPU percentage usages for this particular VM. Okay, so in the aggregation it would be default, it would be average, and we can see average, what is the average, what is the minimum and maximum. Generally when you are into project, you will be always looking at maximum CPU utilization when you get a ticket from ServiceNow. When the CPU usage is more, you will get a automatically ticket in the service now, and the next action you have to take, I mean, you have to go to metrics and you have to monitor the logs. What is the usage, CPU usage of the VM, and you have to see the time duration. Okay, you can see for this VM the CPU usage is going up and down, and during some particular timing it went to up and again it went to down. So the maximum it went to 51 percentage of the usages. Okay, so if you need to find it out for particular period of time, there is a option in the right side. You have the options called time ranges. So in the time ranges you will have 30 minutes of time range, 1 hour, 4 hours, 12 hours or 24 hours, as well as up to 30 days. And the maximum, the logs can be fetched up to 90 days, that you can give it in the custom date. Okay, from which date to which date, then you will get it the graphic view here. And granularity, time granularity means the time duration between like 5 minutes or 1 minute duration, like that you can choose it. Okay, so I will give it as last 1 hour and see the logs here. So we'll get it the logs. Okay, you can have this view in bar chart or grid or area chart, like that. Depends on requirement, we can have this view. Okay, so in the monitor is, you can directly search in the global search, or you can directly go to the respective VM, and in the respective VM you will have that metric option. Just search in the options, you will get the metrics options. So here also you will have that you will have the same option. Instead of going global metrics option, you can search in the respective VM itself. Okay, this is one way to check the metrics. The another way, go to the VM, and in the VM overview you will have the option called monitoring options. There are various parameters that monitoring can be, monitored. uh, there are some parameters. Okay, so we'll see the parameters. You see, the first metrics is VM availability, CPU averages, disk and bytes, and network and disk operations. Okay, so VM availability, we can get availability report in the VM availability, which is under preview, and CPU averages. We can see how much CPU utilized and what is the maximum usages that we can see. And for the disk bytes, we can see how much the disk read and write operation happened to this particular VM. Same time, we can check the network bytes. So how much of KB networks for inbound and outbound, that also we can see. And disk operations, so how much read and write operations per second, that also we can monitor. So metrics is a monitoring tool where we can monitor the virtual machine, virtual machines like CPU, disk, network related. And this is a this is not a detailed monitoring. So metric is just a monitoring, and it's not a detailed monitoring. Okay, so for the detailed monitoring, we can go with the Azure Insights. Okay, so Azure Insights will give detailed monitoring, which means additional parameters it will give. Okay, additional parameters in the sense some more. If you want to do some R&D in respect to virtual machines, so you can go with the Insights, which will give detailed monitoring on overview. Okay, so Insights also it has some metrics. So I will discuss about now insights about virtual machines. Okay, so we discuss about now insights. So insights is a detailed monitoring where we can get detailed informations about virtual machines and all other Azure resources. Okay, so before go to the insights, we just need to understand about Azure Log Analytics Workspace, because to configure these insights, we must be required Log Analytics Workspace. If you just go to the VM and see, you can search here insights in the monitoring, just come down, you will have the options insight. So by default, the insight is not enabled, because to enable the insight, we need a extra cost, and this insights comes with the additional cost, and it will charge extra. Okay, so I said right, inside is the uh, it's a detailed monitoring, get more visibility into health and performance of your virtual machine. We can enable insights. Okay, so to enable these insights, we need to create a log analytics workspace. You can see here, when I try to enable it, it is asking first enable insight using Azure monitor agents, log analytics agent. So there are two agents or monitoring agents. So there are two agents are there, which is acting a role for monitoring, which is the intermediate tool between uh, Azure virtual machines and monitoring. So first one is Azure monitor agent. Second one, log analytics. Sorry, log analytics monitor. Log analytics agent. Both are doing the same work, which means both will be acting as a intermediate tool, which is capturing the logs from the VMs, and it is giving to, it is storing in workspace, log analytics workspace. So log analytics workspace is the tool which is storing all the logs, data, reports, which is capturing from the respective resources. Analytics workspace. Okay, so it is a kind of storage, and it will store all the logs reports from the resources. Store logs, reports, errors, data, etc. Okay, so using this monitoring tool, the data will be captured and it will be saved in log analytics workspace. So using some automation tool, the logs can be automated and it is integrate with ticketing tool, so that we'll get some automated alerts. Automation tools. So using some automation tools like function app, logic app, and I, ITSM is a ticketing tool. So using the automation tools, they have integrated between log analytical workspace, and whatever the details logs captured by log analytical workspace, that will be generated, and it is that will be generated as a ticket, and it will pass to respect to monitoring service now ticketing tool. Okay, so using this log analytic workspace, we can do some other activities like uh, install agents centrally, and this is the centralization tool where we can install the agents or softwares to multiple systems. Okay, so log analytic workspace is a very big concept, and it's act very big key role. But coming to the monitor, so that is what we are discussing. So we need a one log analytics workspace, and we need one monitoring agent to install in the respective virtual machines to capture the logs, and we can fetch the logs from log analytical workspace. We can see the logs. Okay, so now we are going to see we are going to configure the log analytic workspace as well as insights also. Okay, so the agent which I need to choose it here. So by default the Azure gave the suggestion, that is the Azure monitor agent. So let it be subscription, we need to choose, and then data collections rule, that we need to define. So what is data collection rule? So this data collection rule, which is part of log analytic workspace, and so this data collection rule will fetch the, it's a tool, intermediate tool, which is helping out to fetch the data's logs from Azure resources. Sorry, Azure resources like VM, DBs, like that. So using the data collection rule, the logs will be captured, and that will be stored in log analytical workspace. Okay, so data collection rule, by default it is taking one data collection rule, let it be. So I'll just quickly configure this log analytic workspace. Okay, so when we give the data collection rule, by default the log analytic workspace will be created. Okay, so we no need to worry about log analytic workspace creations. So I'll just configure it. So probably it will take 2 to 3 minutes of time. Let's see. Okay, so the log analytics workspace as well as insight also configured. So we'll search here. We'll open one more tab.
You are not in mute.
Okay, so log analytic workspace is configured, and then insight also configured. Now you can see post configure, we can see these options. like monitor health performance of the virtual machine, analyze the data and performance view. We can get it like this. So before see this one, we just say the log analytic workspace is created or not. Just to search log, you will get the log analytics workspace. Click here. You see there is a one default log analytics workspace is configured. Just go to this log analytic workspace and come down. You can see connected data source. So the first option, you just click on virtual machine. It is asking to create a role. So already we have a rule, default rule is configured. So we will check that one also. Go to agent tab here. So you see one virtual machine which is connected, and the Azure monitor agent is configured for that particular virtual machine. This is what we did, and you can see the data collections rule now. One default rule which we created during the insights. Okay, so just to see the informations about data collections rule, in the overview, you can see the data source. So the data source from VM insights from performance counter. So we'll just see the data collection rule. So I said that data collection rule, which will collect the data from respective resources. Okay, so here you can choose what kind of data sources. Data sources mean the VM, whatever it is generating the source, generating the logs that can be captured, and we can define that sources. What are the source? Only the particular source we can choose based on our requirement. So by default, it comes with the performance counter, and the destination is our log analytics, sorry, Azure monitor logs only. So this is the default one. It comes with default rule. So you can see here the source is basics performance counter, and these are the metrics that captured using this data collection rule. CPU, memory, this all. And the destination is our log Azure monitor logs only. Azure monitor logs, and the destination would be our workspace. There only these logs are going to be stored. That is what our destination we have to give it. So this is the default rule. If I need to add some other rule, like any other logs I required means, that also I can configure. The data source, we can select system logs, sorry, Windows event logs. In each and every machines, there is a option, there is a search option. You can see event viewer. In all the client and server operating systems, Microsoft OS, the event viewer is a default options that is there to monitor each and everything. So when you go to event viewer and see Windows logs, you can have application security system and setup. These all are the variety of logs that will be captured each and every moment. The same way, when you come to give the data source and data collection rule, same kind of logs available. So based on the requirement, we can just choose the logs, and when we give these things, these logs also will be captured from event viewer inside the virtual machine. Okay, so we need to give this source and destination. We have to give our workspace name. Okay, so just if you give add it, it will be added. So as of now, I'm just ignoring. Already one uh, data source is there. Okay, now here you can see resources. What are the resources are added to this particular data collection rule? So as of now, VM1 is added to this rule. So the logs captured only from this VM1 only. Okay, and the insight also will be enabled for this VM1 only. So now we are going to see the VM1, the insights. Okay, so go to the VM1, and here search insights. So go to the VM and search the insights. You will have that monitoring options now. So here you can click on performance, and we will get to know the detailed monitoring using Azure Insights. Okay, it's keep loading. Let's wait. It's taking quite time. Okay, so it came now. You see the difference in the metrics and insights. Here in the insights, it's giving a more information about the disk also, how many disk it has, and what is the usages, and how many left, and how many IOPS are how many IOPS are used. So detailed information is about logic disk performance. And if you come down, CPU utilization in the granularity, so you can select here average, maximum, minimum, and the stages, ninth stages, and so those informations also you can check it in the Azure Insights. Okay, so you see there is some transaction in the CPU. You can check it here. So like that, you can check availability memory, how much available memories that system have, and what is the maximum and minimum, and then logic disk IOPS. So disk input and output per second, that usage is also we can monitor, and then logical disk memory bytes, so that also we can see, and disk latency, maximum logical disk used, so disk sorry bytes sent rate, byte received rate. So all the parameters are there here, so we can have the detailed monitoring. And here also time ranges is there, so based on the time ranges we can check it. Okay, so using these logs, the data, everything will be captured and keep it in log analytic workspace. From the log analytic workspace, the ticketing tools are integrated, so we'll get the tickets based on the available unavailability or high utilization. Okay, so this is how the insights and log analytic workspace will actually work. Okay, hope you all understood about this. So next one, that is very simple thing, that is alerts. So Azure gives one more feature, that is gives alerts option, where we can configure the alerts for all the resources, and we can generate the alerts email to our respective emails. Like if any VM goes wrong, so it went wrong, then ticket will sorry the monitor alert will trigger one alert, and that alert will be received to our email. So that kind of things also we can configure it. So for that, the global search alerts, and you will have the alerts here. Go to create rule. So we need to create the rule for respective resources. So it is asking scope, what is the scope of this rule. So we can choose our resources like any databases or virtual machine or whatever. Uh, so here I'm going to choose a virtual machine, one or two, like that. So I'm just giving for this rule for the VM2. So just click apply, so the scope is selected. We can have multiple scope also. And next option is condition. Condition in the sense, we have to define the conditions. Like you see, percentage CPU, available memory, disk IOPS. So if you choose the percentage CPU, we can set the parameters, like we can give the conditions, like more than 80 means it has to trigger the alerts, more than 70 means it has to trigger the alerts. So that we can define. So suppose if you are configuring this particular alert for only CPU percentage CPU of virtual machines, then you can define the parameters here, conditions here. You see the threshold is static or dynamic. So threshold means the utilization range, Okay, you can see the aggregation type is average. So average or maximum or minimum. So aggregation type in the sense your requirement, like the CPU utilization is maximum this much means we can trigger it has to trigger the alert like that. We can define it. So what I can give, the maximum CPU utilization is maximum greater than 80. So the threshold value is the 80. So when the CPU cross the CPU utilization is crossing the 80, then it will trigger the alerts. And when to evaluate? When to evaluate means every 1 minute this alert rule will check. Okay, every 1 minute it is keep checking the CPU utilization of the particular VM and loop back period of this rule. So loop back in the sense, so every 1 minute it is checking. So post 5 minutes it will just re-verify the previous checks. There are some stage like every 1 minute means one stages, two stages, thirds, fourth, like that. So after 5 minutes it will just once again re-verify the four last five stages, I mean 5 minute stages, that is loop back period. Okay, so conditions we have defined, and then actions. So in the action, actually here is the actual part. Action, we need to create the action group which will trigger the notifications. So in the action only we have to give our email address, so where it has to trigger and whom has to receive this particular alert. So for that we need to create action group. So action group we can give it as regional or global wise, something, give action group, display name action group. So click next, notification. So this notification, this setup is optional. Action, this setup is setup also option. And here this notification step is there, right? So here we can define the notification type. Is it for email Azure Resource Manager role, or email, SMS, or voicemail for the phone number, mobile number? So that we can define notification. So here we have some parameters how we can get the alerts, whether to our email ID or through SMS to our phone, or through IVR voice, or through mobile authenticator app, Microsoft Authenticator, how we have to receive this particular alert. So I'm just giving my email address. So whenever the alerts trigger, it will directly come to my email ID. Okay. So name is email. You have to give the name. What is the name of this rule? Sorry, with this notification type. Email is selected. So one notification I have configured. Action is not required because there is no action. And if you click down in drop down, you can have some automations tools. As I said, right, these alerts can be integrated with automation tools, Azure Function App, Azure Event Hub, as ITSM tool, Logic App, etc. That we can configure here. So just give next, review, and click create. So one action group will be created. Okay. So once the action group is created, now, oh, it's gone now. So just create a rule once again. Choose the virtual machine. Choose the condition. Percentage CPU and maximum. Let it be as the default settings. So condition is completed. Action, we need to select our action group. So one action group is there that we need to select here, and then click next, detail. So here, what is the severity of the email? Is it critical, 0, 1, error, warning, information? So based on the requirement we can set our severity of the alert. Okay, alert rule name is something, CPU percentage usages, percentage usages. Okay, something alert descriptions you can give it. So just click next, next, and then click create. That's all. You can create rule, alert rule for our environment. So once that CPU utilization is more, we will get the alert. We will get the alert through our email address. So like that we can set alert rules for our different requirements. Okay, so this is all about the rule, alert rule configurations. Okay, so just try to understand about alert rule configurations in monitoring. Okay, so one more thing I forgot to explain: in the virtual machines, post we configure log analytics workspace, there is an option called logs options, that will be enabled after we configure the log analytics workspace. Okay, so in the log analytics sorry, in the logs we can have some there are some metrics like alerts, availability, errors, health check, performance, heartbeat. So most of the parameters are there here. So you can just choose what metrics you needed. Just select that one and you can run that query. Solution free disk. When you click on that, you will have that uh, script to run. I mean queries to run. Once you run, you will have that result. So this query is called Custo queries in Microsoft. It's called as Custo queries, and for this log analytic workspace needs to be enabled because the report whatever we are fetching from here, these reports are saved in log analytic workspace only. Okay, you can have multiple multiple alerts here. So whatever you needed, you can fetch it out datas report from here using running these queries. Okay, so here also you can have the time ranges. So whatever you need, you can save it, and you can save this query also. You can share to or copy into text, like that you can do. Okay, so these logs also available in all the resources, but the log analytic workspace needs to be added. Okay, so this is all about Azure metrics, insights, log analytic workspace, and one more point that we covered: Azure alert rules. Okay, the next one, that is Azure subscription overview, Azure cost and pricing calculator. Okay, so just go to our subscriptions. So here in the subscriptions you can have a detailed cost estimation and used resources, how much cost and how much it is charged by Microsoft. Everything it will be there. As we purchased a free trial account, we had 15,000 rupees points, and in that 15,000 you can see how much we spent. This is our credit limit, and how much we spent and how much is remaining, and what are the resources that is charged for the cost. So you can see firewall is charged 2.3k, roughly 2000 rupees it is charged. VM1 is 1000 rupees, VM2 is almost to 1000 rupees. So like that it will have a detailed cost estimations in subscriptions. You can have this informations like this. Okay, and other important thing, you can just see cost analysis. Or so in the cost analysis also, based on the location wise and how much the actual cost, how much charged, everything you will have. And location wise charges also, resource group wise charges also, everything it will be visible here. You can check it, that cost estimation. When you are working into the project, this cost estimation is it is it would be required. So this is one part. And then next thing is resources usages plus quota. Okay, so this is also one frequent task that we do. When we purchase the subscription, by default they will give some CPUs for our for our usages. And as I said, virtual machine families, size families like D2S V3, D2S V4. So that families are there, right? Based on that family, Azure will give some CPU, core CPUs. Okay, once that is more, then we cannot create the new VM. So we have to extend that usages. So for that, you can see the option is new quota request. Just click that one and enter a new limit. Choose which one we are going to increase it. So for example, the first one means choose the first one and increase the quota limit. So when once you increase, then only you can create a new virtual machine. You see, for this first one, 4 CPUs are there. So when you create a two virtual machines, each virtual machine having two CPU means you can create only two virtual machines. You cannot create the third one. So in that case, the quota got filled, and you need to request new quota size. Okay, so this is one frequent task that you do in project. Keep it in mind. Okay, so that's all in the usages. Subscription overview, cost estimation, pricing calculator that we see, increase quota also we discussed. Pricing calculator in Azure, just type Azure pricing calculator. Azure has associated the billing, the pricing for all the resources. Okay, whatever the resources that you create in Azure, all the resources are billing oriented. For example, you can see here in the Azure, go to all the resources. You see, these all are billing associated, means each resources have some cost. Okay, when you create that one, the cost will be charged from your credit limit. So how you can check that cost, what is the maximum cost that would be, like that and all, that you can check in Azure pricing calculator. Okay, so we'll see pricing for storage account and then virtual machine. So click on the virtual machine. So in the right side, one tab will come to view that one. Let's wait. Click again. Yeah, you see the pop-up is coming. Just click view, and here choose the location of the VM. Choose the OS type, Windows category, and you see the type. For example, D2S V3. So I'm just going to check D2S V3 cost, and here choose for monthly, and the cost is associated with the license, including the license only for Windows OS. If you come down, and you can see the overall cost monthly, it is $137 for this single virtual machine, that too 2 CPU and 8 GB RAM capacity. So in the project, whenever you working in any kind of project, you will get the requirement to create new virtual machine. Okay, so before we create, first we need to take a cost approval from the respective manager. Okay, so for the cost approval, the manager will ask what is the virtual machine cost. So for that purpose only we are referring Azure pricing calculator here. Okay, so it is associated, the cost is associated for most of all the resources. So like that you can check any virtual machines here. And once you get this cost estimation, then you can get approval from reporting manager. Then you can create a virtual machines and hand out to the respective client. Okay, this is the most frequent task that you do in project. Another one, we'll see for storage account. So the storage account also, it is cost oriented. So click on the storage account and see the storage account is added here. So choose the location, and the storage type is for file storage or blob storage or whatever. So in last session we discussed about file storages. We have created 500 GB file size and we have tested. So you can select the file storages, and tier is premium or what, and redundancy is LRS or ZRS, and what is the size for that uh, file storages. For example, we will give 500 GB, and if you come down, this 500 GB is $80, and with the snapshot it will come roughly $136 per month. Okay, so like that the costs are defined, and make sure whenever you create any resources, you have to take approval, cost approval, and then you have to create it in the Azure. Okay, so yeah, this is all about Azure monitoring that we discussed today. So hope you all understood about these points clearly. Okay, just repeat the points and check and do practice, and keep it everything in the hands on, and make sure once you practiced, delete the resources so that you can save some amounts. Okay, so fine, I'm just deleting my existing rules, whatever that I have created. Fine. So thank you guys, all the best.